tales speak of Anansi, the wise spider, the weaver and spinner of stories. His father, the sky god, Naim, owned all the world's stories, and there were none at all on earth. Anansi wanted these stories, so he spun a web up to heaven to ask for them. Naim set Anansi 4 tasks. If he could capture hornet, python, leopard, and fairy and bring them to him, then he would give him the stories as a reward. Anansi was little, but fortunately what he lacked in strength he made up for with brains. And first he set about looking for hornet, taking with him a gourd filled with water. Coming upon the nest, he threw some water over it and the rest over himself. The hornets came out buzzing. "Quick," called Anansi, "come and shelter from the rain inside my nice dry gourd." Once the hornets had flown into the gourd, Anansi wove a thick web across the opening, trapping them inside. Next, he went to look for python. He knew that he was very proud of how long he was, so he took a long branch and then he went to a stream, muttering loudly all the while. "What are you mumbling about?" called Python from the tree nearby. "Well, my wife thinks you're shorter than this branch, but I think you're longer," said Anansi. "I don't know how to convince her." "Well, that's a simple matter to solve," said Python. "I'll lie along the branch and prove that I'm longer." And he stretched himself out along the branch, and quick as a flash, Anansi bound him with trailing vine so that he could not move. Now it was Leopard's turn. Anansi dug a deep hole across the path that Leopard walked down every day and carefully covered it with branches and leaves. And then he sat down and waited patiently. Leopard came along later that day and fell right into Anansi's trap. "Help! Someone help me!" he cried. "Here, grab my web, I'll pull you up," offered Anansi, coming out of his hiding place. As Leopard reached up, Anansi let down a sticky web of threads onto his head and bound him up tightly. Finally, Anansi set off to capture Fairy. He covered a doll in a sticky gum and he left it by a tree. Fairy came along and, seeing the doll, tried to pick it up, and as soon as she touched the doll, she was stuck fast and she couldn't run away. Anansi took the captives to Naim, who was delighted. He handed all of life's stories over to Anansi, and Anansi brought them down into the world to share with all the people. And that's how Ghanaian people think that we ended up with stories on earth. Hope you enjoyed the story.